puny humans. I've come to smash. And you should know who's to blame. They shot me into space, sent me to a planet called Sakaar, where I could be cut, even killed, where the Emperor made me a slave, and then a gladiator. They sent me to die, but I survived with my warbound. We made a world, but your heroes sent a bomb, killed 1 million people. Now this city will fall. You have 24 hours to evacuate. When I return, I want to see Mr. Fantastic, Iron Man, and Doctor Strange. And if they're not here, I'll do this to your whole stinking planet.
Hello and welcome to Atop the Fourth Wall, where bad comics burn. And welcome back, my friends, to Event Comics Month 2, Crisis of the Wars. Hulk is strongest one there is, and that fact makes many people in the Marvel Universe very upset and nervous. Much like last year's Flashpoint, this event kind of feels like a Hulk storyline that's been ballooned into a larger event. The difference is that it's not trying to retcon the entire universe. This is just payoff for a previous storyline, and it has effects that hit various corners of the Marvel Universe. I've spoken at length about Marvel's Civil War comic, but you may have noticed that the Hulk was absent from those events. Well, there's a good reason for that. Writer Brian Michael Bendis introduced a retcon. A popular creator introducing a retcon? Why, that's completely unprecedented on this show! That retcon being the Illuminati. No, not lizard people or a shadowy cabal of individuals who secretly run the world, but rather a group of powerful characters in the Marvel Universe who elected to join together years back to regularly meet and share information to try to combat threats and otherwise be better good guys. Those members included Namor, Tony Stark, Reed Richards, Doctor Strange, Professor Xavier, and the Inhuman Black Bolt. The Inhumans, if you're not familiar with them, or only know about them because of their goofy looks on TV, are a race of people who live on the moon, because comic books, who also have superpowers. Black Bolt has insanely powerful sonic powers, to the point where even a whisper from him is devastating in its intensity. Anyway, in-universe, the Hulk went on a rampage that destroyed Los Angeles and killed several people. The Illuminati elected to finally do something about the Hulk. Put him in a rocket and shoot him into space, and then maybe force him to watch cheesy movies and riff on them. Nah, the idea was to put him on a peaceful, uninhabited planet so that he could live out the rest of his days without hurting himself or anyone else. Professor Xavier wasn't there due to events in the X-Men books at the time, and Namor voted against the plan, but they went ahead with it. I've heard that people were really upset about this because it was suggested that despite the rampages the Hulk went on, he never actually killed anyone, and that if he ever had actually hurt someone, Bruce Banner would have killed himself in grief. If that's true, then I prefer that, since the Hulk is supposed to be an heroic figure. Sure, it's not as realistic that with all the smashing, nobody was killed, but this is a story about a giant green man who gets stronger the angrier he gets, so I'm not always that keen on realism. Anyway, the rocket never arrived where it was meant to, instead falling through a wormhole and crashing on the planet Sakaar. There, he was taken by the planet's ruler, the Red King, and forced to participate in gladiatorial battles for the amusement of the populace. The Hulk forms a pact with a group of other gladiators. A rock guy named Korg, whom actually was one of the rock aliens who fought Thor in his first comic, a brood, an insect named Meek, a red lady named Eloise, at least I think that's how it's pronounced, and a former priest and warrior named Heroim. Together, they were the Warbound, joined together as a team that overthrew the Red King, and the Hulk became their new king, taking on a wife named Kyera, who even got pregnant with his child. If some of this sounds familiar, that's because parts of it were utilized for Thor Ragnarok. That movie was much more comedic about this stuff, particularly with Korg and Meek, but the story in the comic did not have as happy an ending. Hulk's rocket was still on the planet and heavily damaged. A short time later, its warp core exploded, devastating much of the planet and killing the Hulk's wife. And I cannot stress enough how good Planet Hulk is and how tragic this ending is. The Hulk had found true peace, uniting various factions, created something new, acted as a savior to so many people, and enduring so much pain. And it was all taken away by this group that had exiled him to begin with. Angrier than he's ever been before and blaming the Illuminati for all of it, the Hulk takes the Warbound and the remaining forces of Sakaar and swears to get his revenge, bringing us to this event. And that's where we're at now. A righteously pissed off Hulk and a just as pissed off collection of aliens coming to Earth wanting vengeance. Let's dig into World War Hulk.
Welcome to Atop the Fourth Wall, where bad comics burn. Linkara's gonna teach you all a lesson you won't learn. Brodsky, you're not the smartest. Life out, you're not an artist. Anyone who's had a bad comic published, it could be your turn. Linkara, he's a man punch, wears a pretty hat. Linkara, he has a magic gun. Where'd he purchase that? Linkara, coins, robots, Amazons and trucks. Linkara, this comic sucks. Linkara.
Reading from a trade, so no looking at the covers in any extensive detail, but there's not really much to say there anyway. They're perfectly serviceable, but for an event, they're very basic and a bit bland. We open with a recap. This is the story of the Hulk. Now this is story all about how Hulk's life got flipped, turned upside down. A monster who fell from the sky to the savage planet of Sakaar. Finding an apartment proved difficult those first few months. A whole world of monsters. But while they stabbed him, burned him, and ate his very flesh, he never forgot the real monsters. Ickis, Oblina, and Crumb. The puny humans who sent him here. Doctor Strange, Mr. Fantastic, Iron Man, Black Bolt. They shot him into space. They thought they were saving their world. Mostly, though, it was a tax write-off. But he survived. Because he is the Green Scar, the World Breaker, the Eye of Anger, the Pancreas of Pissed Off. And it turns out he's also his spaceship's deflector system, as the Hulk stands on the top of the vessel and punches asteroids out of the way. There are so many reasons why this doesn't make sense, but I don't care, because it's the Hulk punching an asteroid while standing on top of a massive spaceship he commands as king. It's awesome. Anyway, the military almost picks up their ship approaching the planet, but it cloaks or is blocked by the moon, which is the real target. The Hulk lands on the moon, and it seems both Black Bolt and his wife Medusa are waiting for him. No explanations are offered. Medusa simply says that he can't win this fight, since the two have fought before and Black Bolt won. Hulk won't have any of it and just advances, Black Bolt unleashing his first attack with the single word, enough. And indeed, Hulk is blasted back, to the point where the two actually turn and start to leave afterwards. I didn't come here for a whisper. I want to hear you scream. Who wants ice cream? The military soon detects them again, properly this time, as the ship reaches the skies over New York. It beams down a hologram of the Hulk. Puny humans, I've come to smash. Okay, not how I expected the Hulk to resolve this, but Smash Brothers Tournament it is! Anyway, he outlines everything for the people of Earth, playing the tape that the Illuminati sent to him when they shot him into space as proof of their duplicity in this whole thing. In return, he's going to destroy New York and gives the people 24 hours to evacuate, but wants his 4 opponents waiting for him when the 24 hours are up. And if they're not here, I'll do this to your whole stinking planet. Do it or I'll beat up Black Bolt all over the planet! The Hulk's forces have taken over the US satellite network, and Iron Man launches into the sky to regain control, but unfortunately for him, the Hulk's crew are better and repel him. Doctor Strange contacts Tony and says he's never been angrier or stronger. Iron Man suggests that he use magic to teleport him away, so he can tear apart someone else's world and come back even stronger? No. We created this problem. We must solve it. I mean, let's face it, when you guys screw up, you screw up royal. You ended up blowing up a planet and giving him an army of loyal followers. You try to do this again, and he'll probably come back commanding half the universe and the Infinity Gauntlet. Doctor Strange says he and the heroes with him will help evacuate New York. I should note that since this is post-Civil War, Doctor Strange has been harboring and helping those on the anti-registration side who went underground after Captain America surrendered. Iron Man promises a full pardon to anyone who turns themselves in after all this, which is nice and all, but they didn't want to join up to begin with, so why would that matter to them? Anyway, Iron Man and Mr. Fantastic head out to see the Sentry. The Sentry is kind of an interesting character, the idea being a Superman-like hero who everyone in the Marvel Universe forgot due to a mind wipe to protect the world. It was revealed that he suffered from severe mental problems with different personalities vying for control. In this retconned past, he was also good friends with the Hulk, able to calm him down. Despite his objections, his civilian form transforms into the Sentry upon the two's urging to try to calm the Hulk. However, when they prepare to leave, he can't exit the doorframe.
Tony, a word please.
I need to pee out of my eyes, but I don't know why. New York is soon evacuated, with the government announcing that anyone who stays behind is doing so voluntarily at that point. Heroes help out, including Spidey, who's in his black costume because of the stuff happening in the lead up to One More Day. He expects the Sentry to show up, but it's actually Iron Man in a new Hulkbuster armor. The Hulk and his ship soon arrive as the deadline closes, with Iron Man warning the others to keep back and only attack after one or the other is victorious. After all, if Iron Man beats the Hulk, then the situation is resolved. If the Hulk beats Iron Man, then that's one of the people on his revenge list down, so that might make him less angry and thus easier to fight. The two collide, sending shockwaves out that destroy lots of windows. Iron Man also sends a transmission to the world admitting his culpability in sending the Hulk into space, as well as better justification for his actions leading up to here during Civil War than in the actual Civil War comic. But everything I've done, everything I'll do today, everything I'll ever do, I do to protect this world. I hope you all remember that as the Hulk and I start leveling people's homes. Someone once told me that with great power comes great responsibility, and it certainly wasn't that wanted fugitive Spider-Man, no siree. That's usually thought of as a lesson for children, a simple injunction to do the right thing. But there's nothing simple about it. When I put on this armor, I took on more power than any human was ever intended to have, and maybe more responsibility than my heart can truly bear. So please, find a way to let me drink alcohol again. I love Linkara's drunk voice for me, but he won't do it for any storyline that takes place after Demon in a Bottle. I miss it! I will do my job. I will protect you. No matter what it takes. I will betray and help murder as many of my friends as possible as long as you are all protected. He injects the Hulk with nanites designed to suppress his powers and says that Bruce Banner would want him to do what he has to. Kill the Hulk once and for all. They launch some kind of powerful missiles at him, but the explosion just triggers some PTSD flashbacks for the Hulk of his wife, Kyra, and naturally he survives with his only words. You killed her! Oh, hell.
He's gonna die.
Probably.
The Hulk tackles Iron Man with one of the greatest sound effects ever. Crack-a-bathroom. He and Iron Man go right into Stark Tower and he just starts wailing on him. So during this time, in the wake of Civil War, a lot of creative people at Marvel expressed their discontent with how that storyline resolved by having Iron Man beat down whenever possible, either verbally or physically like this. And it was so satisfying every time it happened. This is made even better by the sheer power of Hulk's punches making the entire tower collapse on top of them, with the Hulk emerging from the rubble to end issue 1, roaring over Iron Man's body.
Eat dad!
Issue 2 begins with Doctor Strange beginning an incantation, looking for someone in particular he hopes can stop the Hulk, though he admits it may come down to him just getting taken. The Warbound soon join the Hulk as the rest of the heroes gather and get ready to fight. She-Hulk, being Banner's cousin, tries to talk him down and says that if Tony and the others did what he says, they'll be put on trial, but the Hulk is having none of it, and another brawl breaks out. They're fighting mostly to buy time so Reed Richards can come up with a solution, in this case what appears to be some kind of cannon. He tries to get the Fantastic Four, along with Black Panther and Storm, who were on the team for a while, to leave so he can do this alone, but they refuse.
This is insane, Sue. His power is off the charts. There's literally no way you can stop him. Now get out of here before—
And let him kill you before I have the chance to give you a piece of my mind? I mean, let's face it, after all the crap you've pulled over the last few years, if we haven't gotten divorced yet, this has got to be true love. Or a really unhealthy relationship, that's possible too. The Hulk and the Warbound arrive to take him, the Fantastic Four doing their best to try to fend them off. It looks like the Sentry arrives and starts calming him down, but it's soon revealed that it's Mr. Fantastic's gambit, some sort of device to try to mimic the Sentry's glowing light that could pacify him. Either the Hulk saw right through it, or he's just so pissed it wouldn't stop him anyway. But in either case, he just destroys the machine and manages to do enough force to Sue Storm's force field that it warps her body right into being just as flexible as Mr. Fantastic's. I mean, geez, what's up with her legs? But yeah, Reed is knocked out and taken. Sue calls the Sentry, who's just sitting at home. Yeah, just to spoil this early, what he had said to Iron Man, and for some reason this is not shown to us until a few issues in, was that his agoraphobia was kicking in and he couldn't step outside his house, afraid even more that at the kind of power he'd have to exude to stop the Hulk, he'd likely do a hell of a lot more damage to everything, possibly destroy the world in the process. Either way, a hero destroys the world, so I think it all balances out. People have gathered in support of the Hulk for a number of reasons, because they think the heroes are douchebags, their own religious reasons, but then there's perpetual sidekick Rick Jones, who meets the Hulk and the Warbound as they drag the heroes' unconscious bodies down the street. Rick tells the Hulk about how Captain America is dead and how things have gone to hell without him. It seems like he might actually get through to him at first, but then Doctor Strange makes his move, using his momentary emotional vulnerability to try to get into the Hulk's head. That just makes him even angrier, and everything he sees around him is just pissing him off even more. While Hulk battles against some heroes in a tie-in, issue 2 ends with the arrival of General Ross, who says the heroes have had their chance, and it's his turn now. Oh, yeah, sure. A guy richer, smarter, and with better weapons than you leveled a building, trying and failing to stop him, but you and your 9 helicopters and a pistol are really gonna turn the tide. Why not as a follow-up you take out Godzilla? He's technically canon in the Marvel Universe, too. We enter issue 3 with Ross recounting how it always happens. Every few years, the Hulk does something monstrous, and people are so quick to pardon and forgive him, but he won't take it anymore, and is determined to put an end to him. The adamantium bullets he's using to try to shred the Hulk provide enough of a distraction for Doctor Strange to finally get into his head. They're still pummeling him with fire, even as Doctor Strange makes it clear that as powerful as the Hulk is, he's the Sorcerer Supreme and could snuff him out easily. He asks Hulk to show him his true face, and he reverts down to Banner, who comments that that's exactly what his wife had said. And indeed, that's what had happened. When the two got together, she insisted on seeing Banner too, because they were part of the same person. Bruce collapses as Doctor Strange reassures him that while they did send him into space, they had nothing to do with that explosion. And so Stephen Strange offers Bruce his hands, which he takes, and the Hulk crushes.
Hulk much prefer his version of rock, paper, scissors.
The damage transferred over to Doctor Strange's real body, too. The Warbound defended the Hulk's body while he did this, but now that they're out of his head, the Hulk proceeds to annihilate the military forces. General Ross keeps shooting the Hulk even as they both fall to the ground, naturally the Hulk winning through. The President calls the Sentry to try to get him to help, but because this is a parody of George W. Bush, he ends up going off script and has these encouraging words to say. "All right, Reynolds, listen up now. These eggheads tell me you're nuts, but they also tell me you're a hero, so it's time to shake the schizo act and do what needs to be done. Now let's go!" And he stays in his house.
I'm the government, I'm the government, I'm the reason nothing works.
The Hulk's forces convert Madison Square Garden into a massive arena. Korg points out that they could stop it here. The world knows what the Four did now, and they're considered monsters as a result.
Listen to them, Korg. They get it. Never stop making them pay. Hulk sure that won't bite him in the ass later or anything.
The Warbound arrive at Doctor Strange's sanctum, hidden as a dilapidated building. The heroes with Strange try to hold them off, but it's no use. Heroim, being a shadow priest and magician, is able to dismantle Strange's spells while the other heroes get implanted with obedience discs, devices used on Sakaar that give off pain if you don't comply, and pretty much compel you to do what you're told. Wong tries to get Doctor Strange to let him examine his hands, but he knows it's too late. He thinks the Hulk is definitely gonna kill the Four for this.
No, you know, Banner, he wouldn't. You didn't see him, Wong. You didn't feel his rage. It's beyond anything I ever...
Well, yes, but it's more accurate to say this. Bruce Banner is just as pissed as the Hulk, and you aren't going to be able to talk him down. Strange demands Wong hand him something.
No, Doctor, you can't.
I can, and must. Now bring me the box. I mean, I'm damned anyway at this point. Cenobites, let's go for a ride. No, the box contains the essence of Zom, an extra-dimensional monster that Doctor Strange had once invoked to defeat another powerful enemy. And as these things go, Zom then became the threat, and it had to be sealed away again. Back at Madison Square Garden, Rick Jones is still trying to convince the Hulk to put a stop to this, but Meek insists that this had to happen. A recurring theme from Planet Hulk that's carried over here is that both Hulk and his Warbound are considered monsters, and that the line between monster and hero is a thin one, reinforced by the prophecy of the Sakaar Son, a savior figure who will bring life to their world, but conversely, they could also be the World Breaker, a figure who will destroy the world. Planet Hulk and World War Hulk are two stories that truly do revolve around the question of whether the Hulk is ultimately a hero or a monster. After all, it's easy to be a hero when everything ends up going your way, as it did during Planet Hulk. Sure, it wasn't always easy, and it took a long time to get there, but ultimately, Hulk proved mostly virtuous. But now, during World War Hulk, he's lost almost everything he cared about. It's not so easy being the hero when everything you know and love has been taken from you. Rick Jones is trying to appeal to the Hulk's better nature and fight for justice, but Meek says that there isn't any justice, and his viewpoint is equally easy to see. During Planet Hulk, Meek rose from a timid creature who lost his father and family to discovering his brothers enslaved, his queen also enslaved and then brutally murdered, guaranteeing that he and his brother will be the last of his kind. And now he's here to push the Hulk into being more the monster. However, issue 3 ends with showing off that there are still others who are having problems with the hero and monster divide, as Doctor Strange drops off a knocked-out heroine at the Hulk's feet, empowered by Zom.
Strange smash. Strange? Hulk come to bargain!
Issue 4 then begins with the fight between Strange and the Hulk. The other members of the Warbound try to stop him, but he's channeling too much power and he can knock the Hulk around without any difficulty, almost laughing at their attempts to harm him. However, when a building starts falling on some of the Hulk supporters, Strange immediately regains his senses and tries to dig them out, the Hulk managing to save them first. Strange admits that so much anger and power is hard to control, but of course, that's old hat for the Hulk, who just pounds him down afterwards. Rick Jones once again tries to get through to him, pointing out his heroic actions and saving those people, just like Bruce Banner would. After all, it was Banner who became the Hulk by saving Rick's life from the original Gamma Bomb. Don't know why you'd be acting like Banner unless, oh yeah, you are Banner. Hulk's response is to punch Doctor Strange again.
Banner is me. He punched Strange. I want to kick Strange in balls.
And so the four responsible for all this are brought into the great arena of Madison Square Garden, with plenty of supporting onlookers, captured superheroes, and the alien refugees of Sakaar. These are the four whose shuttle exploded, destroying the crown city of Sakaar.
We didn't plant any bomb. We never... Dog!
What was that? I couldn't hear you over the sound of my dead family, Stretch Armstrong! A lot of the people who came to support the Hulk are people who have been victims of the actions of the four and are allowed to speak so that the four can hear about what they've done. The nephew of Bill Foster, Goliath, who was killed during Civil War to the clone of Thor, a woman whose husband was killed when the Inhumans attacked America, some religious zealot who thinks Doctor Strange is a demon. Yeah, that one has less of an argument. This is why it's not always a good idea to have an open mic night. Anyway, the Hulk uses this opportunity to recreate the horrible experiences he had to go through when he landed on Sakaar, forcing the four to fight strange alien creatures. After we get that flashback with the Sentry revealing why he hasn't left, the Warbound force the four to fight each other to the point where Mr. Fantastic has a huge mace, ready to bring it down and kill Tony. The Hulk gives the order to bring the weapon down on him, and the Sentry is finally able to overcome his feelings and take off, ending issue 4.
You hear that, Bruce? It's time to play God. There's a new Populous game coming out. I've got to go get it!
And so as issue 5 begins, Reed Richards brings the mace down at Tony and misses his head. The Hulk admits the truth.
Remember this, puny humans. We came here for justice, not murder. So no one on your planet has died by our hands. And no one will. But we'll make sure no one on Earth will ever forget what you are. Liars, traitors, and killers. For the last time, Bruce, we didn't—
Shut up!
Like, seriously, Reed, for the smartest man alive, you really are dumb. What the hell could you possibly have to say that you think would convince him to do things otherwise? It doesn't matter if you intended on it or not. It happened. Crying out, "You didn't mean to," is irrelevant. You did it, and you keep doing it. That's what's so frustrating about this era of the Marvel Universe. The Hulk is absolutely right. These supposed heroes are liars, traitors, and killers. And yet we're still supposed to root for them and agree with them. It was said in a tie-in issue that the reason why they didn't just ask Banner if it'd be okay to send him off to another planet while they worked on a cure was because he might say no, and thus they'd never be able to trick him into doing this. They knew it was wrong to do this without his consent. They knew it was wrong to lie to him and trick him. And even if you could forgive that, their actions still resulted in the deaths of millions of people, regardless of the revelations we're about to see. So Reed, shove your excuses and your "we didn't mean to" right up your oh-so-stretchable asshole. Anyway, after the Hulk declares that they're just gonna raise the city and then leave them to their shame, the Sentry arrives to make a bad situation worse, destroying their ship and punching the Hulk. Sentry says that he's finally able to cut loose and truly punch as hard as he can.
Stark! Richards! All of you! Never forget, whatever happens next is on your heads! And certainly don't pretend it never happened or have your memory erased to try to clear you of moral wrongdoing! Looking at you, Tony!
And so they punch each other a lot, with the Sentry's full power being unleashed and eradicating entire buildings with his blasts. The power basically becomes a massive tornado of fire in the sky focused on the Hulk, but it's out of control. The Warbound help the heroes try to defend people and each other, since while they're in no mood to really help the Four, they didn't come here to watch another planet die. And as the Hulk and the Sentry just repeatedly hit one another, the Hulk says that it doesn't matter what people call you. Savior, destroyer, monster, hero, the only thing that matters is what you choose.
Hulk chooses not to have a tan today!
With all their energy exhausted, the Sentry collapses and the Hulk reverts to Bruce Banner, Hero-Im suggesting that within everybody lies the ability to be both savior and world breaker, and he's finally chosen to be a hero. However, Meek won't have it, stabbing Rick Jones when Bruce offers his hand to him. Bruce transforms back into the Hulk and starts beating him to death, which is exactly what Meek wants. He says that this is what the Hulk was made for. He took the Hulk's words to heart, the same ones he said on Sakaar, "Never stop making them pay." And thus he admits that he was the one responsible for the warp core detonation. It wasn't the shuttles that did it. The former loyalists of the Red King thought that the exploding warp core would kill the Hulk, and Meek saw them doing it, but did nothing to stop it. After all he and his people had been through, the Hulk making peace with those very same oppressors was more than he could stomach. Thus he knew the exploding warp core could make the Hulk back into the person Meek admired so much, that the Hulk would become the world breaker and to make an end to all this, and hopefully something better than them can come.
In retrospect, I might have made a teensy error in judgment.
The Hulk almost starts exploding with gamma power and forces everyone back, exuding so much energy that it's radiating from his mouth and eyes and creating earthquakes. He screams yet again that this is all the fault of the Illuminati and that he'll hate them forever, almost as much as he hates himself. He screams for the heroes to kill him before he breaks the world in his anger. Tony, having regained control of the satellite network, unleashes a bunch of lasers down upon him. I'm guessing in the Marvel Universe they're okay with space-based weapons? I don't know. Maybe a planetary defense grid against invasion. The blast is enough to knock the Hulk down and revert him to Banner again, stretching his torso something fierce. And thus, as the dust settles and recovery begins, the Warbound are taken into custody, and the narration repeats Hulk's words to the Sentry about it only mattering what you choose to be. And so our comic ends with Bruce Banner being put away in some kind of tank, possibly for suspended animation. But back on the planet Sakaar, a Hulk-like figure emerges from the sand. The Hulk's son, Scar, emerging from the world thanks to the unique properties of his parents. World War Hulk, as a story on its own, is great. What pisses me off about it is the lack of consequences. Oh sure, stuff happened afterwards in regards to the Hulk in his books, more adventures for the Warbound, Meek surviving and doing stuff, and of course Scar would eventually find his way to Earth, but when it comes to Mr. Fantastic, Iron Man, Black Bolt, and Doctor Strange, not so much. I could be wrong about this, but everything I've seen and read seems to indicate that there was no fallout for this among the four. Admittedly, we didn't need much with Black Bolt. Yeah, it turns out he was a Skrull, long story there. But still, while it's satisfying seeing them get the beatdown they deserved for this, it's not the same as them changing themselves or learning from the experience or showing any kind of grief or shame for what they did and what could have happened. They seem to take the very idea that they might have accidentally killed millions of people as impossible. That just because it was an accident, they weren't in any way culpable. There's no moral arc or redemption for any of them. After what happened, they just went on their merry ways to screw up even more. Best we get is Doctor Strange, after doing the whole Zom thing, plus utilizing some other dark magics, renouncing his title as Sorcerer Supreme, and then eventually reclaimed it again. But for the rest? Pfft, nah. No guilt, no reconsiderations or questioning themselves. No, they weren't responsible for the deaths, so just another day at the office for them. What a load. You know, in the lead up to Infinite Crisis, Booster Gold confronted Batman about his part in getting Ted Kord killed because of the Brother Eye satellites, and he says Batman won't be blamed for any of it because he'd have to admit he was wrong first. And you know what happened? Batman later admitted he was wrong and did what he could to make amends and be different. Because there were consequences to his actions, and it served the larger story. And that's what upsets me about World War Hulk. It's a fine story, but the bad stories are the ones that seem to have had the actual impact on things at Marvel for a time. The only other criticism I can offer is to John Romita Jr.'s artwork. It's not terrible, and in fact I like the bulkier Hulk look, but it doesn't quite work for as many heroes as it seems to happen to in the thing. But yeah, Greg Pak's story from Planet Hulk to here was fantastic. And then Red Hulk happened, but that's a story for another day. Next time, though, we conclude Event Comics Month 2 with another DC book. Yeah, it's finally time. Remember Countdown? Well, now we're gonna look at what it was counting down to. Final Crisis. I love this line because this could also mean he's come to eat at Smashburger.